Well, friends, the crackdown is here, and it looks like the civil war is on. We got major law enforcement agencies, federal agencies mobilizing across the United States. Apparently, these denial tactics, these insurrection tactics inside the cities are going to be put down pretty harshly. We got troops being mobilized to be going towards Portland. We have federal officers already deployed in significant force in Chicago. Showdowns happening there. Friends, this is escalating and escalating quickly. And while you may not be immediately affected if you're outside in the rural areas, know that this is a time of very big stress in the United States and will impact all of us. All right, friends, let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And these are the things the mainstream media just will not talk about. Remember those no-go zones during the Floyd riots? They want to say protests, but riots. Remember how, what was it, Chaz or whatever, all those different zones where it's like, we're not going to let the police into these areas. Well, they've been trying to do that with federal officers, with ICE, with FBI, and they've been trying to push the federal officers out of these city areas. Now, this is not some kind of random thing. This isn't just like, oh, well, that just kind of happens because they don't like them there. No, this is orchestrated tactics and strategies that are being implemented. We have these national magazines. We have got national media outlets online that are basically spelling out these tactics that they want to terrorize federal agents out of urban jurisdictions. They are basically starting a civil war. They're starting a revolution, a communist revolution, and they're using the cities as kind of their bases of operation. These are areas where they believe that they have home field advantage against federal officers. That if they do something against federal officers, they know that the local judges, as long as they don't get prosecuted in federal court for federal crimes, they know that they're going to be let out with a slap on the wrist. They're going to be let out on bail, cashless bail, which is just absolutely stupid, where you get released without actually having to put up bail. Just your word that you're going to show up whenever they actually have the trial. Well, that's kind of a problem. As we go back in history, we see big parallels with what happened back in the 1850s and the 1860s leading up to the American Civil War. We see very strong parallels to other civil wars in other countries and communist revolutions. And that is no accident. The people that are coming up with these strategies and are coming up with these intentions are students of history as well. Now, I think the biggest parallel that we could see here is back in the lead up to the American Civil War, we have John Brown. Remember, John Brown wanted to kick off the Civil War, wanted to kick off a massive revolution that would bring about the abolition of slavery. And he wanted to do so by helping the slaves rise up and revolt. And when he took over the armory down at in West Virginia, we have Robert E. Lee leading the Marines, U.S. Marines. This was back when he was still a federal officer in the federal Marines. He kicked in the front door with his Marines and captured John Brown and put down this revolution. But it didn't work. Back during when I was in the Boy Scouts, they taught us how to start fires and they taught us how to put out fires. Now, both with starting fires and putting out fires, there are quicker ways of doing it that are a little bit less safe. We won't talk about the starting the fire part. We're going to talk about putting out a fire. I remember on many occasions where, yeah, we could go draw water and then put out the fire properly, or you can just jump in there and just kind of start stamping your feet and kick apart the coals and stamp them out. Now, if the fire is almost out, that works, right? But when you jump into the fire ring and start stomping on the coals, one of two things is going to happen. Either the fire is going to go out, or you're going to be not feeling good, right? The soles of your shoes might start melting if the coals are deeper than you thought, if they're a little hotter than you thought. If you misjudge the thing and you go to stamp out those coals and you find yourself ankle deep in heat, it doesn't go so well. You're going to be in pain. And that kind of really brings us to this current moment. Just as the raid on John Brown, John Brown was taken care of. The insurrection there was taken care of, but what happened to him inspired abolitionists all across the North and led, in large part, to the election of President Abraham Lincoln, which was really the trigger point that launched the South into open revolution, right? Now, we have a lot of these same dynamics happening today. And you can look at it several different ways. You can look at President Trump ordering the federal officers and the military into these cities as him jumping in and trying to stamp out these revolution coals. And hopefully he's judged it right. Hopefully he has the resources to stamp this out rather than to inspire more. And we got both sides in this position. We got what happened to Charlie Kirk has inspired a lot of people to pray, to peacefully rise up, and to stand up and speak out, right? On the other side of things, we have the attackers in that instance and in other instances being arrested or being hailed as heroes. They're basically the confused people's John Brown, okay? They view themselves as needing to rise up against the government to stamp out injustice. And they view themselves as wanting to basically overthrow the government because they've been told that this government is literally the 1940s, 1930s Germans, okay? That's what they've been told. So they have actively moved, and we're not talking about just random people doing random things. They have an explicit strategy. They have a doctrinally coherent model of resistance. They're using these cities as cover, and they're using them and they're trying to push the federal officers out. They've chosen their battlefields, and they're trying to use the tools at their disposal to fight on home turf with local cover. It's revolutionary logic. They're trying to pull the federal officers into the cities and then defeat them somehow. We got, and remember, right now we're still kind of, it's not so much physical force as it is an inspirational ideas stage of things. What both sides are looking for is their hero. They're looking for their martyrs, their inspirations, and they're trying to gin up the population to be on their side. They want their people really avid and motivated and outraged, and they want the other side to be demoralized. Okay, that's the situation we have here. And in the lead up to the American Civil War, we very much had this with Bleeding Kansas. There was this proxy fighting that was happening. They were trying to swing Kansas to being a slave or a non-slave state. And that was the setup for a lot of the situation that we had leading up to the American Civil War, which culminated in full states standing up and revolting against the federal government. Now, we don't see any states standing up and revolting against the federal government, but we are seeing individuals' actions inspiring local governments now, and more, we're starting to see state governments taking more actions against the federal government. And when we see the states and local jurisdictions fighting against the feds, that starts looking a lot more like a civil war. Now, I don't know if this is going to go full-blown into a conflict between the states and the feds. We've seen this kind of coming, right? We've all been talking about this. We've all kind of seen this coming. Back during the previous administration, we saw this. And I'd say that if you're like me, you're very, very relieved that it seems like the federal government is kind of on our side, which is a relief for sure. I think a lot of us kind of saw a lot of scenarios in recent years where we thought we might be on the other side of things, on the receiving end of this. And that was not an encouraging situation, right? Back during the Biden administration, back during the Obama administration, I think a lot of us were kind of looking at things and going, this could get ugly really, really fast. And with the skirmishes that happened, there was some of that, right? Where our people were getting the business end of the FBI, the business end of a lot of these things. And people went to jail, got locked away for a very long time without trials, were abused. I mean, the stories are real. Now, it's a conflict. I know that there's been some ideas floated out there of like, why don't we just let California secede? If you're in California and you're not on board with all these leftist wacko policies, you're like, absolutely not. Like, you can't give them my land in California. But honestly, that might be the most peaceful thing that we could possibly do. Because otherwise, we are seeing, I mean, I don't believe it's a 50-50 split here population-wise. I think that there's been a lot of monkeying with numbers over the years, but you have to admit that there is a sizable portion of the population that really believes this stuff, that really is, especially in the cities, is all for this, and is all for standing up to the government, and they want to be free of a Trump administration, right? So with that in mind, this conflict is going to a head. We got the Joint Terrorism Task Force being deployed to cities. We got federal officers of, federal military being deployed to Portland over the next number of days. The details are being hammered out. Exactly, is that going to be National Guard? Is that going to be Marines? What exactly is going to happen here? And then what exactly are they going to do? Are they just going to stand in front of the federal buildings? And are they only going to arrest people who are trespassing? Are they going to detain them temporarily until federal agents, FBI, ATF, ICE, arrest them? Is the military going to take a more active participation in this situation and riot control and such? We don't know the answers to these questions, but we do know that things are accelerating and escalating. What was happening yesterday and the last week and last month are not what's happening today. We have FBI offices across the United States are now investigating George Soros. We got Antifa under the microscope. And when we say Antifa, we mean all of the different branches, the social media platforms. Everyone who's identifying with Antifa or has identified with Antifa in the past are now being inspected. And they're now looking for the crimes that they can then apply across the entire network with RICO. This is coming. This is serious charges. We already have Comey arrested. We have other FBI agents that are going to be charged, it looks like, in the coming days. This is a situation that is going sideways fast because we have whole cities and whole states that are saying that they are going to actively fight back against the federal government arresting criminals who are committing violent atrocities. All right, friends, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below, and let me know what you think happens next after this. And is this kind of a situation where we, as the citizens, sit back and let the government kind of do things, or do we need to be getting ready for this to spill over into our areas, our suburbs, our rural areas of the country? All right, friends, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below as we all think through what's happening, what will happen in the near future. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.